Hi there, everybody. I'm back. Kelly LaValle Hunt here. Whoop, whoop. Just to let everybody know, there's going to be a DJ outside at 5 p.m. Just letting everybody know. It's going to be bumping. So right now, I'm going to welcome two amazing guys to the stage. One, I know him as ETHCC, and the other one, I know him from the EF. So please welcome. I need a very big round of applause for these guys. They need a build-up of applause and whoops. Please welcome to the stage Tomasz and Jerome.
Should I give this? Yep. Hello, everyone. Woo!
Hi, everyone.
Oh, we have a timer now. Oh, is it
17 minutes.
17 to talk about quantum money.
Quantum money.
All right. I have had a look at the agenda, and there has already been a lot of quantum talks. So we'll take it for almost granted that everybody has a rough idea about what we are going to talk about here. What do you think? I
have a rough idea, yes.
Yeah, okay, so I applied for a talk here saying I'd like to talk about something that's almost there for Ethereum, but we have a plan for it. And also something that I think is going to give Ethereum an edge against every other blockchain. We have a plan for quantum, and we have a plan that's already running out. Maybe you can give us a few elements of what's the plan for post-quantum Ethereum in 1 minute. Or 2 minutes.
No, I think the most important thing is to look at it from the perspective of there's DevCon Bangkok, and Justin Drake goes on stage and says, and for a week, people were saying that Justin will have a huge announcement, right? Like that stealth announcement. Nobody will know what he'll announce. There'll be something huge.
Was it the croissant?
No, it was in Bangkok. In Bangkok. And then Justin Drake went on stage and says, and everyone was expecting this massive, massive momentum with Ethereum changing and showing how aggressive. And Justin went on stage and says, this is our 5-year plan with the roadmap. And the message later was that, oh, Ethereum will move so slowly. It's 5 years, there's nothing now. And in 5 years, everything else will be so much ahead. Now everyone is worried about quantum, and that 5 years roadmap is 2 years into the roadmap. So we see the quantum roadmap that is 5 years, is lean Ethereum. It's not only quantum, it's a lot of other things that Justin and other researchers have been working on for, now I'm worried about this 1 minute, have been working for the last 2 years. And it's going really on schedule, or probably even ahead of schedule. Now it's accelerating with researchers running AI and formally verifying things with AI. The example, I think Alex Hicks ran AI formal verification of some of the signature code base.
Yep.
And moreover, what we're doing, we're reintegrating that branch of foundation research into the protocol roadmap. So we want to propose at the EF the next 5-year protocol roadmap and present it to all core devs. And it will see, among the other things, I don't know if it was published. I think it was meant to publish yesterday, but I think they're still waiting. So when it's published, it will show what we do with quantum, what we do with the state, what we do with further scaling, and so on and so on. And yesterday you had a blog post about this year focus of the protocol team. So this is hardness, scaling, and UX. So we continue with scaling and UX, but there's hardness part as well, which talks about security of the protocol. And when you think about hardness, it's really security, post-quantum security, and all the aspects of saying this is the slower path, but also faster than anyone who's not thinking about it and who hasn't worked on it for the last few years.
But yet we have an authority that started the clock. The clock is ticking for quantum. We have the National Institute for Standard and Technology, the NIST in the US, that said by 2030, ETHDSA should start to be decommissioned. What that means is that if you have a fiduciary duty, typically you're an ETF emitters or you're a listed company that is using buying an asset that is relying on the CDSA, you should be having some security risk assessment, like, oh, I'm storing Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not quantum ready, so I have to disclose that I have this kind of assets? Which means that by 2030, we should be quantum ready in the blockchain industry. We should be thinking very hard of this problem. And there's a discrepancy between the threat that it represents and the amount of capital and the amount of public research that is actually being done in the blockchain space on this stage. And yeah.
I'm thinking about that tweet from Nick Carter when he said, look, the way developers and the markets look at this thing is totally different, because developers think, I have to fix it before that quantum point where really everything collapses. But the developer will think about it, if we ship it one day before, it's fine. But the markets think about it, if you don't have it ready and fully tested, like 3-4 years before, then we move our money away. We don't invest in this technology, this architecture, because we just don't have certainty, and when we introduce too many technology risks.
So you can ask around to researchers in the quantum space, researchers in information, in computing, and so on. You can ask them, like, do you think that we already have quantum computers that is able to break a CDSA? So you have publications like Google and so on saying, like, oh, we reached this amount of qubits, we reached this amount of things, we reached this amount of things. Those are publications of what's going on. But the reality is probably a little bit higher. And if anyone has a computer that can break the signature that you have on Bitcoin, you wouldn't know. Like, at some point, someone will do these kind of things. And the whole internet that is relying on certificates that is based on asymmetric signatures is at risk in this case. And there was, Nick Carter saying that he thinks the threat of quantum is important for Bitcoin. It's really simply put, like, you cannot differentiate Satoshi finally moving his coin and someone breaking Satoshi's keys and moving his coin. That would be a pretty nice big short, the blockchain big short, moving one of Satoshi's coin after breaking the private key and putting an OP return such as sell Bitcoin, buy Dogecoin, something like that. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think that, so I'm not an expert of Bitcoin, but I think that calculations, depending how you calculate, was around 6 million Bitcoins at risk, and 1.9 million if you just look at the historically publicly exposed coins, I think, because of the old style of issuing signatures. So I think that for some reasons, all of the Satoshi's coins are at risk, or like 1.7 million there. So, and this is huge. This is a huge threat, and I think this is the biggest problem because it's political, right? Like, so people will start deciding: is it that you should freeze those coins, or you should allow them to just float as a bounty? But if it's a bounty, then if people that look at Bitcoin as a market, they'll say, oh, okay, so we have this 1.7 million Bitcoins floating and being dumped on the market, and who controls them? Most likely one of the governments.
Yeah, so there's things we need to touch point on. Like, let's not talk too much about the other chains and focus on Ethereum, but nevertheless, transitioning from pre-quantum to post-quantum means that we change the signature algorithm. So transition scenarios are more or less achievable, more or less realistic, depending on the chain, depending on and so on. And when it comes to, let's say, Bitcoin or Solana, quoting Justin Drake, if you switch to the best candidate that we have right now, which is N-True Falcon for quantum signature on the blockchain, because the signatures are small and quite costly to generate off-chain, but easy to verify on-chain. If you put that kind of signature in the other chains, you're going to have a 10x less performance in terms of throughput for the blockchain. So you have to rethink your architecture. You have to rethink how the blockchain works. So it's a challenge for blockchains that are historically very high on the throughput of number of blocks per second. And it's also a challenge for blockchains that are conservative in the way they handle their code base. But that's not the case for Ethereum. And I think we have an EIP coming up on the next upgrade to make N-True Falcon a precompiled. That's right?
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's. I wouldn't maybe go that far to say it's not a challenge. It's just like that you will not be slowing down things, like whatever speed you're operating at. I think that really you're slowing down because the signatures are much larger and the throughput will go down. But the teams at the foundation are showing us like a lean sig and the signature aggregation targets, and they set the targets for the size of the signatures and for the throughput, for the latency, and all of that is being progressing very nicely. So we see the results, and if you go to leanroadmap.org, I think, you can see this being tracked across all the teams, and you can see results. So this is very promising, but there are many other problems, like because the same way as you have the old addresses in Bitcoin, you have the same situation in Ethereum. You have some addresses that didn't move Ether for many years, and if you start a transition process, how you'll address that problem? All those addresses have to be frozen. Vitalik proposes that emergency approach, where you kind of freeze the addresses, but you can unfreeze them with the ZK proof of holding the pre-image, the seed phrase. Yeah. So that's one thing. The second thing is how do you the process itself of moving accounts to the new approach, to the quantum signatures. So you see the first proposals of the IP is now 7702 propose how it could handle signatures, quantum signatures, or like non-ECDSA signatures. Then there is Kohaku suggesting this is how we can do AA account abstraction with quantum signatures. And then there is like entire lean roadmap, but you have consensus layer and execution layer side of the signatures. So the consensus layer has additional question about aggregation. So how you create those signatures, but also with aggregations. On the execution layer, it's mostly, you can do that in steps. Like first introduce account abstraction, like more like smart contract level, quantum signing support. Later, you can start thinking of this being on the protocol side. So it's a gradual progression on the roadmap over 3 to 5 years. It's very important that we finalize all the specs. But I would say it's too much to say. It's more like one group of people finalize the specs that they believe in. It's a very strong set of researchers, and they focused on that many years, and they had very, very reasonable assumptions. But now is the stage of showing it to all the core devs, to show it to all the community, and you have that governance process where they come back and say maybe they never looked at it, and now they suddenly start looking at it. Yeah. We've seen with EOF and so on, and that's why you have to be so much ahead of it. Like even if the threat is 2030, 2035, you really have to sing research, implementations, verification, testing, and the governance process. Everyone accepting the same approach.
Yeah, totally. There's to say that the objects in the mirror are closer than they look. So typically we weren't expecting, I think, AI to be so powerful into formal verification and so on. But like so you said that there's two approaches. Like we need to look at this from the execution standpoint, so the mainnet EVM, and the consensus layer, right? So you said 7702. That's a new type of transaction that lets you declare a smart account to invoke your account.
No, I mean, like, so I've just seen yesterday, I think, Greg the Greek, wasn't it from you? No? Maybe. Okay, no, Greg and Amin. I think they proposed the updates to 7702 that would support different type of signatures. So I'm just giving examples that something is coming from outside of the group of people that are working on quantum. And this is the governance now. Because of those announcements, the governance start activating everyone else to think about quantum and what other proposals, what we didn't take into account. There shouldn't be anything. Ideally, it was probably like 50 to 100 people working on it. But it might be.
So let's come back to this attack of I'm breaking ECDSA and I'm moving Satoshi's coin, like sending a big short, like sell Bitcoin, buy Dogecoin, something like that. That will be a moment of realization that, maybe someone has enough to break ECDSA now. Let's take a cautious approach and tell people that it's time to migrate. It's time to upgrade to quantum, post-quantum Ethereum. So am I right thinking that the modus operandi would be, okay, guys, just declare a new smart account and your true Falcon signature for this, and then we can gradually migrate the execution layer.
So I think everyone is talking about these two stages of quantum threats. Like first one is when you have significant amount of time to break the account. So if you know the public key, because the public key was published to sign from the given EOA, and whoever has the quantum computer that is ready to break the signatures, maybe they try to break it over 2 or 3 weeks or months or so, and then they break it, and you think that the accounts with a big amount of ETH that already published their public key could be broken this way. The second thing is like in flight, when you didn't publish your public key, but you start transferring assets, and then the quantum computer is fast enough, and like, the algorithms are efficient enough, the error correction and so on, that you can break it within seconds since the transaction was published, and you can intercept it and do like a bit of like MEV access. So this should come much later, which means that we should have this first signal if it happens that already someone is capable of breaking accounts. But then people are even talking about that anybody who would be in ownership of the quantum computer that can break this
should be arresting.
They would try to hide this, and they wouldn't attack the accounts where it would be obvious initially. So,
but other things are at stake. Like, talking about staking right after, but privacy on blockchain. Let's say Monero, the ring signatures are breakable on this approach. So as the EF and Ethereum took a big step towards the institution on making easier and for users as well to work on the privacy side of their transactions. Post-quantum transactions to make sure that your money transfer stays private is also a challenge that can be addressed in the same way. But from the consensus layer point of view, we have a challenge with BLS. BLS is just aggregation of signature, which is very practical for the proof of stake of Ethereum. So there's two paths, I think. Let me know if I get this wrong. There's two paths. Either finding out a way to properly aggregate n-true Falcon signature, or get over it and use ZK proof stocks, basically.
Like the either Falcon or hash-based signatures, I think that's the approach. So now here you're getting technical enough where I would say in the last weeks when I was reading everything that researchers are posting about it, I see those changes like the hash-based, the stories, the Falcon, and you want to dig deeper into the final decisions because I talked to Nico and Justin, and because in January they were merging all the roadmaps. So this probably is the time when it's most dynamic of what will be the final paths. But I think the aggregation will be based on the hash-based signatures on the XMSS. But I would send you to Lean Roadmap for technical details. I don't want to go too deep into this. And
so baseline scenario, we have a plan and we're executing it, and apparently faster than we thought.
I think so. I would say that when you have a 5-year roadmap, and after 2 years you think we are mostly on time, this is already great.
the last mile is always the hardest one.
No, and now you know that generally the roadmaps are accelerating because you have such powerful tools to deliver. So I'm very optimistic about this roadmap on Ethereum, especially that like January was super strong signal when the researchers and engineers met at the EF and they said like, yeah, we have a roadmap that we believe in and this is okay. And we are ready to publish it and start having conversation with everyone. Like the Lean Ethereum was totally separate from everything else that we were doing, and many people were feeling very uneasy, saying like, "Oh, this Lean Ethereum is totally different. They operating like it's different Ethereum. Why these researchers are not working with the rest of researchers?" You know those tensions when you manage the teams and you say just go two paths. And now those paths are merging, and this is a very strong signal that people feel comfortable about what they chose.
We have 10 years of no downtime and 10 years of a history of 10 years of setting up the standards. Like it's an evidence that Ethereum is the standards and EVM is the standard, like across many different chains, many different flavors of Ethereum that have been tried out either as L2, either as a layer 1. And now we are about to own the narrative of the quantum transition. Like the new standard is getting ready for quantum, and the clock is ticking again. Like 2030, it's 3 years from now, so it's getting there pretty fast. And I believe it's a really good segue into telling the institutions that, hey, this is going to be ready, and picking Ethereum is going to make you safe for the next 10 years. And for the users, your Ether-based assets are secured as well.
This was super important for me. When I thought we've been working 5 years already on post-quantum security of Ethereum, but this year is when many institutions started feeling very anxious about it. So what we really are doing this year is not suddenly starting to work on quantum, we just start to communicate about it. Because if we communicated about it last year, people wouldn't listen because it's like, oh, that's far away. Now they started panicking and we say, oh, we are prepared, so let us show you what is there on Ethereum and how we'll lead that transition to post-quantum security. And it creates this full understanding. People will want to read more about what Ethereum has been working on, and they'll see the 5-year roadmap that's in the middle and saying, here we are. And it was like research, testing, building, speccing, building, and we aren't building. And all the other chains will be seen suddenly as underprepared, and they start to have those governance stresses. That's great.
Yeah, Ethereum edge against everything else and above everything else, it's brain power and the talents that it attracts. And with quantum challenges, we have an outstanding way to shine.
Yes, and we ran out of time. So the quantum clock was ticking, and we are over time. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.